But what an honour to have Heather Knight here for a batting masterclass. Heather, welcome back to Australia. How are you finding your time back in the WBBL?
Yeah, really enjoying it. Obviously, it's a competition I've played a lot in. The standard's super high. Like I think you've seen it even more this year with 10 teams. The teams all seem really close. I think it's going to be a real tight one to see who makes finals. But yeah, it's a place I love coming, and just catching up with all the connections that I've made over the years is really nice as well. And obviously Sydney Thunder are a team that I'm really passionate about. So great to be back.
Team going reasonably well.
Yeah, I am enjoying it. You know what, I'm really enjoying not captaining. It's quite nice actually. Obviously captain last year and not available for the whole thing this year. So really cool to see Phoebe doing it. Good to see a good young player get an opportunity, and yeah, I'm loving the extra free time and just to concentrate on my batting, which is nice.
So great to see you. We're going to do a T20 batting masterclass today. First question, when you're preparing for a T20 game, is the preparation any different to the other formats? How do you kind of go about your T20 preparation?
Yes, it's slightly different, but I think the thing with T20, sometimes you go away from the basics, and actually contact with the ball, bat face is still the basics of batting, whatever format you're playing. So actually sometimes I find myself wanting to do just like drills or really basic batting in the nets to make sure my technique's in good shape, because sometimes you can lose it when you play T20, because obviously you're trying to clear the front leg. Sometimes you're trying to hit the ball a bit harder, hit the ball in different places. So yeah, slightly different. I'll probably do a bit more preparation around their bowlers and what they do at different phases of the innings. Obviously you've got the power surge here as well, which is unique to this competition, which is really cool. So I'm often someone that's batting during that. So working out which bowlers the opposition are going to use, what they might bowl, different fielders they might have, and basically how I'm going to go about scoring my runs. And then for me, it's just getting the right mentality. I think mentality is so important in T20 batting, particularly when you're going in at a role where I do, where you could go in 2 down in the power play, you could go in with a few overs left trying to hit some bombs. So really focusing on how I want to be and how I want to go out and play when I do get to the middle.
Now, before we get into your setup, let's maybe talk about playing in Australia. You play cricket all across the world. What do you have to prepare for Australian pitches?
Yeah, obviously a little bit more bounce. Obviously we're here at the WACA, renowned for its bounce, and it can be quite tennis ball here. So I think the biggest thing I found, like going across the ball, which you can do on low bouncing pitches, is really hard. You can get those sort of leading edges. So really making sure you're going through full face. And I think generally the pitches are really nice to bat on. There's a bit more pace, and you can generally play your shots really square of the wicket, play strong shots, and you get really good value for it. So yeah, it's a place I've really enjoyed batting. It's certainly better playing at somewhere like the WACA than somewhere that's slow and turning and can be hard work. So yeah, I try and make the most of when I do get in as well, because it can be quite fast scoring.
Perfect. All right, let's get into your setup. So first thing I want to ask you, feet position. Where do you kind of set yourself up?
So first of all, guard. So I generally take middle guard to seam, and then leg spin and left arm spin. I generally take leg stump. Occasionally I go off spin, off stump to the off spinners if it's turning a lot, but generally I'm quite strong to the offside, so I want to give myself a little bit more room, which is why I take that leg stump guard to the left arm spinners and the leg spinners. But yeah, generally I'm pretty easy. Like to be nice and relaxed and nice and sort of like nimble through the shoulders, feet pretty straight, and yeah, just like to sort of relax and sway my bat. I used to when I was a sort of budding young international player, I used to have my bat down here. Back in, when was it, 2016, I changed my back lift, so went a little bit higher. I found when I was on slower wickets, it was actually quite hard to get enough power into the ball, so had a little change of back lift, hands a bit higher, and just allowed me to pick up and get a bit more of a fuller swing and get my hands through it and hit the ball harder when it is slower. And yeah, that's something that's been in my game for a long time. And yeah, just generally pretty relaxed really. And
when the bowler's coming in, is there anything particular you're watching? Is it release points of the ball? Is there any superstitions you have around before the bowler kind of comes in and delivers the ball?
Not massively. I'm just sort of looking generally where it's released. I'm not someone that has to focus in really on the seam or anything like that. I think you just pick up little cues from release points and action. So if a bowler looks like they're going to go back a little bit more, you might be expecting the short one, and they're just things that you pick up like through playing lots of cricket. I think things that kind of naturally you see that allow you to play the shots that you do. And just the timing of my trigger for me, I've got a tiny little trigger, very small, so to seam, just as the bowler's about to release, I just do a little back and across, and then to spin, just a sort of like little press forward. So I'm just trying to time that perfectly as just before the bowler releases the ball.
For sure. And head position and weight, are you thinking of those things as the bowler's coming in?
Ideally, no. When you're batting, you want to just have a clear mind and be able to react, obviously, to what's coming. But sometimes in the nets, I just try and make sure my eyes are level. That's a really important thing. Sometimes I tend to fall over a little bit. Quite common in batters fall over to the offside, and that can mean I play across it a little bit. So making sure my eyes are really level. My weight is pretty balanced. throughout both of my feet so I can go back, go forward to whatever the ball that comes down.
Are there areas of the field that you're looking out for? Obviously, depending on how the field is set, you're going to look at certain areas.
Yeah.
For you, what's comfortable? Where are your comfortable shots in T20 cricket?
Yeah, it depends who's bowling. So for me in T20 cricket, like getting going quickly is really important for me, and having that intent and the mindset to go out and score runs. So I'll often look for a boundary quite early in my innings. So if the spinner's on and the reverse sweeper's on, it's a huge shot for me that I'll often use really early, even just to get myself going, really, just to feel in that mentality of, right, I'm going to go and take on the bowlers here. So often, if there's 1 point, I think the pitch is not, if it's too bouncy, I probably won't play it. But if it's a bit skiddy and I feel like the bowler's just going to target just outside off, that's a shot that I'll go to straight away. Against seam, I'm just looking for any sort of width to get my hands through. Anything short that I can sort of turn away to the leg side. So there's a couple of shots that I have in mind, but I think for me it's important that I have a shot in mind, but only play it if the ball's there. So obviously the reverse sweep's very preempted, so whatever ball I get, I'm going to play it. But if I'm looking to hit it over the offside, I need to make sure I'm looking for that ball that's quite full. If it's not there, then I'll try and find a way to get off strike and rotate.
Obviously, batters these days, you can hit all around the wicket, 360 players. For yourself, when are you kind of deciding whether to go behind the wicket or in front of the wicket? Is that premeditated, or is that a plan that happens as soon as the ball is bowled?
A little bit. Obviously, coming in at number 4, number 5, you're getting tips as you're watching the game. You're getting to see what the wicket's doing, how much bounce there is, how quick it is there any turn. So generally, if the pitch is a little bit more skiddy, that's when I might go to my sort of reverse paddle or paddles against the spin, just because it feels like a shot that's on, whereas a proper reverse, actually, it might skid on and be high risk of LBW. So I'm trying to pick up little cues as I'm watching, and then obviously coming in, I'm trying to get used to the conditions and work out what my options are on that wicket against those bowlers. I'll obviously have things in mind against the bowlers coming into it, but ultimately you have to play the game in front of you. So whatever I get, I'll try and react to that. And I think it's about having little options, but also ball's there, it's wide, it's half volley, play your cover drive. It's simple as that.
And using your feet, you obviously do this pretty well to spin. Is that something you're really comfortable of doing? Do you prefer using your feet rather than staying in the crease?
A little bit of both, really. I think it depends again on the conditions, but if I feel like there's an area that's open, so mid-off is a really strong area for me, and if I feel like I can get down to it and hit over the top, I will do that. But yeah, again, it depends on the conditions. I quite often like going back to spin as well. I think as long as I'm getting really close by going forward or going really deep to sort of obviously allow the ball to turn if there is any. But yeah, it's a preempted shot for me. So I'm not someone that can see the ball go up and then go. I'm someone that's like, right, this shot's on, I'm going to come down. And then if the bowler adjusts and bowls a bit shorter, then it's about trying to find a gap and get off strike.
And in Australia, we often talk about the extra bounce and having soft hands. Is that something you're really wary of coming to an environment like this, that you've got to have soft hands at times?
Yeah, just trying to play it really late. So obviously off the back foot, you get really good value when you do have that bounce. So making sure you're waiting really late to hit the ball, almost hitting it down into the turf. It's not like England. Generally, the squares aren't as big as well, so you generally have quite a small square. So you want to make sure you're trying to hit it down into the square so it kicks off. Whereas if you hit it a bit further, you're landing on slightly more stodgy grass. Whereas in England, they go the whole way, so it absolutely runs like a bullet. But yeah, making sure I'm full face of the bat, obviously with the bounce as well. If you turn a little bit early, like you can do on skiddier pitches, with the bounce you can get leading edges and can make it tricky. So making sure you're getting that full face of the bat right through the ball.
Now, before we wrap up, let's maybe do a bit of shadow batting to a couple of shots, if you don't mind.
Yep.
So maybe let's start with the cover drive. What does a Heather Knight cover drive look like?
So yeah, obviously batting on middle, generally to a seamer. It's going to be sort of a full ball, generally outside off, that I'm going to look to play that cover drive. So it's all about weight transfer to me. So as soon as I see the ball there, trying to get the foot a little bit across. Doesn't matter too much if it goes there, but ideally want it to go towards the ball a little bit. And then it's just about waiting on the ball, allowing you swing, full face of the bat to come through. And yeah, generally looking at that sort of through the covers, trying to hit a boundary there.
And a reverse sweep, maybe if you're facing a spinner, how does that look like?
Yeah, so it's preempted. It's not something that you can sort of change in the moment based on the ball you get. So you have to commit to it. You have to really get down low and make sure you're trying to hit the ball hard. So for me, I found that doing a little step across actually really helps me get the momentum into the shot. So generally, I'll leave it as late as I can. Obviously, you don't want the bowler to see and change what they're going to do, but I'll do, as soon as they release, I'll do a little step across and I'll sort of flip my bat like that, so my wrists change slightly, and then really use my wrist to get across. So get them down really low and using that whip to get the power on it. And even when there's two in there, you're just trying to split those fielders. Generally, I'm someone that hits it on the floor rather than gets it over the top. But yeah, just using those wrists to really whip through the ball and trying to get that power.
And last thing, I'll leave this one to you. Maybe choose a shot that you love and give us a bit of a demonstration on it.
Oh, that's a good question. Probably for me, I love it when I play an on drive because that's a really good sign that I'm so balanced. It's not a shot that I play super easily sometimes, but I know when I do play it, I'm in a really good position. So it's something, obviously a fuller ball on a pitch like this at the WACA where it's bouncy, you can even do it to one that's a little bit more on the length, as long as you keep your face full. So I'm trying to wait, and then sometimes I have a tendency to do this, but when I'm on driving well, my foot goes slightly towards leg stump, allows the bat to come through, and then just sort of lean on it nice and straight. Doesn't happen very often for me, but when I do hit one, yeah, I absolutely love hitting an on drive.
Perfect. Heather, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much. Give you a fist pump.
Brilliant to see you, and best of luck for the rest of the tournament.
Thanks very much.